Hi, welcome to Hog Studios. I am going to take a couple minutes to show you how to start and take off in the P-51 Mustang. This will be a little bit slower form than the quick instant started up shorts that I've got. If you're really not interested in sitting through a video, just go watch those. That's all you need to know. But just for anybody who's not familiar with this cockpit, the old warbirds can be kind of tricky. I love the Mustang. It's super fun, but it took me a long time to figure it out on my own. So I'm just going to go through this as if you don't know what's going on, and if you reach a part where you know, just go ahead and skip. So this, you just use your scroll wheel actually to scroll the canopy forwards. I like to go right to left. I've seen people do it left to right, but there's a couple things you got to touch on in the cockpit. So the first thing you have to do, these are all of your breaker switches over here. There's only two of them that really matter for most of this. So you can left click this to turn your battery on, and left click the next one over to turn the generator on. It's like your alternator. This is the gun heat. I've never had to use it, but I'm sure in certain situations it'll be useful. The next thing you can kind of go over is you want to make sure that this is selecting the correct fuel. So this is the fuselage tank. This is the main tank right hand, which is down here. You can see it, 75 gallons. This is if you have a combat drop tank on the wings. You keep going around, another combat drop tank on the wings, which we do not have. Your left-hand tank, you will see it's a little bit tricky. You can see the gauge over here. You really got to get yourself up there. And then the hardest one to see actually is your fuselage tank, which if I can sit up is right back there, and that's empty. So we are going to make sure that we're back on the left tank here, okay? Now, easy thing to miss. You may not think so, but after you've crashed your first couple of planes and you get in and the engine's not working, turn the fuel on. All right, there's the fuel lever. So we're going right to left still. You don't need to touch any of these other switches just yet. These are your magnetos. So all the way over to the left of both. It's easy just to flip it twice, like, oh, there's two magnetos, but then you're just on the left one. You're going to get some engine roughness. So keep going all the way to both. All right, we're just going to get the starter switch open. We can come back to this one. This is kind of the exception to the right to left. I come to this last because this is how you start it, okay? This is your flaps. So you can see here there are degrees, and the flaps are all the way down right now because the engine is off. So you can turn this with a right click all the way up to this. You can just keep clicking it, just go all the way up. And you'll notice that these don't move yet because the engine's not running. There's no hydraulic pressure, but this is important to remember. You can leave them all the way down. You can take off with them all the way down. You will notice that you take off way, way quicker than you thought you needed to. So if you're ever super heavily loaded or there's a really short airstrip or you're taking off in a field, go ahead and leave your flaps down. It won't kill you. And then this is really important. You have to turn on the vent or open the vent for the carburetor air control. Okay. So one last little piece of intel, we can flip this down while you're over here. This is going to be your rudder trim. So if you have a HOTAS already, set your trim, okay, on your joystick. Set your right rudder trim, your left rudder trim, set your aileron to the right, to the left, and your elevation up and down. You are going to need it for the warbirds. You don't need it for modern jets unless you have asymmetric loadouts, but in warbirds you do need them unless you want to make constant corrections, okay? So this, I have the RPM. Now this is important. I will tell you why this is important in a little bit because it'll keep you from killing your engine, but have this bound separately. Have a little scroll wheel or something that controls your engine RPM, and then obviously your throttle, okay? So to get it started, you always want your RPM all the way forward when you're starting your engine. It won't kill it to have it down here, but this is how I always start it. I've never killed the engine. I've never hurt it by having it up here. Don't let anybody tell you in DCS, unless they know way, way, way better than me, that this is bad for you. This is how you start the plane. And then you just crack this a little bit. You can do a little bit more, a little bit less. It doesn't matter. It will start. And I'll tell you why. Because this primer, okay, is pushing fuel into the engine right now. Just hold it down for a couple seconds. If it doesn't work, maybe it's a little bit cold. I've never had it not work. You can do a couple more seconds. Not going to kill anything, okay? Turn your fuel booster on, and then two things are going to happen, and you don't have to freak out about doing them quickly because you're going to hold the starter, hold it down, it's going to sputter a little bit, and then you'll hear it catch on. It'll be like, all right, it'll start. And then you just come over to this switch here. It's in idle cutoff. This is your mixture. This controls how much fuel is flowing into your engine. you're just gonna right click this and drop it down into run. It's one click, okay? So watch. We'll get it started, hold it down like this. Spinning, spinning, spinning. Maybe we need to prime it a little bit more. Okay, let's go ahead and do this again and crack the throttle just a little bit more. There you go, took right up, okay? So it just takes a little bit of troubleshooting, that's all it is. And you're in run now. See, the engine's running. Okay, so if you just wanted to know how to start the airplane, you're done, that's it. So you can take off now. But if you want me to show you how to taxi and take off, we will also do that in this video. So there's a couple things that are important to look at while you're over here. Your throttle and your RPM settings, right? So if you have a low RPM, like this, you'll see it drop over here. This is your RPM. Well, not yet, we're not running. If you have a low RPM when you're flying and you ram the throttle forward, you're going to break your engine. Because you're essentially limiting, I think actually through the angle of the pitch of the propeller, you're limiting how fast your propeller can move, but you're just ramming power through the shaft, and so it's going to break your engine. So keep this forward while you can, roll it back after you take off, okay? If you want to set your parking brake while you're looking at your map because you don't like that you're rolling forward a little bit, just hold this, press your both key. Yeah, hold this, press your brakes, let up on your brakes, and then let go of the parking brake. That's set. So we can throttle up a little bit. Let me just zoom back out. Throttle up a little bit. We're not moving anywhere. All right, so you're good. Now, it's easy to start your throttle up and have the parking brake and you go, why am I not moving anywhere? So just go ahead and take this off. Okay, just like that. If you know that it's not working, I got my brakes on right now. So you let the brakes off and then release it to put it on. To release it, you let the brakes off, or you pull this back, let the brakes go while I'm still holding it. Okay, I'm still holding the brakes and I just released the parking brake and now it's gone. Then let the brakes up. Okay, so you can turn with your rudder just like this, but it doesn't work unless you're moving pretty quickly. So for tight turns, you want to bind your right brake and your left brake down there. So throttle up a little bit. If you can see, we are on a field strip right now, just to prove that you don't really need to see very much. This is not a very long strip either, so we'll be fine. And we are moving, so we gotta move. We're just gonna taxi down to the end right over there. Okay, just pump the right brake a little bit. Just a good comfortable speed, okay? Just get used to it. If you're going too fast, just let go. And if you're frustrated with how slowly you're moving, just give it some gas. It's not gonna hurt anything. So we're just gonna taxi down past the AA guns, around the tires. It's kind of hard to see, so just kind of look out the windows a little bit, you know, like that. Don't forget to roll your canopy up. It's not gonna hurt you, but I don't think you can roll it up when you're in the air, or at least I had trouble doing that once. So, and we're actually taxiing to the correct end of the runway. You can see the windsock. You want the tail, you want the fat end away from you, basically, because you always want to take off into the wind. Again, it's not going to kill you if you don't. You can take off from the other end of the runway depending on how fast the wind is moving, but in this case, we want to take off into it, okay? So just taxi yourself over here. And then we want to uncage. You can just scroll this back towards you. Uncage the artificial horizon. This is a finicky gauge. I don't use it for much because it's never right. You just get into one little turning dogfight, you come up and the horizon sideways. All right. So this is going to be for engine management. I don't think I want to do that in this video. I think we're just going to do takeoff. Okay. This is your miles per hour. Everything in this yellow box here is what your aircraft is doing. So this is how fast it's going. This is where it's pointed. This is your compass. This is how the wings are angled. This is how your rudder is aligned. This positive of 0 means you're going up, you know, you're ascending. Below 0 means you're descending. So if you get lost in a cloud and this needle is down here, pull up. And then this is your altitude. So you've got, you'll see when we climb, this will start going up. All right. And we don't have to set this. I don't know why this is set at 0 right now. We are not, we're pretty damn close to 0 sea level. So that makes sense. All right. So all you want to do is make sure that I usually give like a couple degrees worth of right rudder trim here, because when you take off, the twist or the torque from your propeller will take your aircraft to the left a little bit. So you just get some right rudder to correct it. close the starter switch, and then you just need to remember to hold back your stick like this, because that kind of, you can see that kind of forces the aircraft into the ground a little bit, because when you might think that pulling back is how you take off. Not really, because we're going too slow to take off. So this just helps with stability. It locks the tail wheel in place so you don't get spinning all over the place. All right. And then when you get to around 80, just let the stick up. You don't nose it forward. Don't too far left or right. Just let it up to be neutral, and then keep correcting the rudder and a little bit of side to side. Okay. And you'll notice that the plane is going to lift itself off. If you want to make this easier, just add like 10 degrees of flaps here. We're going to do it without it because you don't need them for takeoff. So sometimes takeoffs in warbirds can be a little bit jumpy. Don't worry about that. Just stick back like this, throttle gently forward like this, and then just manage your rudder and your aileron. So a little bit more to the right here. Just want to keep it as straight as you can until you get to about right here. Just let the stick neutral, keep right rudder a little bit, and then we're going to kind of bounce up a little bit and you're flying. That's it. So the plane will kind of lift itself off. I'm putting a little bit of forward pressure on the stick here to level us off while we're picking up speed. And then just tap G and your landing gear will come up. You'll see this little in motion light down here, and that will go away, and you'll know that your landing gear is up all the way. And so now you're free to fly around. So whenever I'm doing this, if I'm not in an emergency, I just throttle back until I'm in the green zone. Okay. Now you remove your throttle before you back your RPM down like this. You can watch those two gauges on the right. I'll do it again, okay? So you see that top gauge all the way going to 60. We are full power. Oop, I just did something wrong here, okay? Make sure that you set your propeller RPM first. So this here, that's max. Now that's not gonna hurt your engine really that badly. If it does, your plane will tell you. So just, you can mess around with the RPM if you want, but you don't want to have this go too low while this is all the way up here, okay? So just remember, if you're going to throttle down, bring your throttle back first like this into the green zone or wherever you want it, and then bring your propeller RPM down like that. And this is a pretty good cruise setting. You don't have to be in the green. You can be kissing the green, around the green, any combination. But there are certain charts and recommendations for RPM and power settings in the kneeboard. You can find them online. Just find the power settings for the P-51 for engine management. It'll give you cruising. It'll give you war emergency power. It'll give you, max continuous, all that kind of stuff. And so one thing I like to do is turn the guns on and just have this, because that will kind of help me visualize a little bit while we're aiming, or where we're headed. And so I'm going to turn back in. You just bank in and then pull up towards yourself a little bit. Don't be afraid to look around. Get really comfortable looking around and not knowing where your plane is pointed, because you can't dogfight looking straight ahead of you. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and level ourselves off like this, so we have a good visual reference in front of us. And you'll notice the nose keeps sinking, and I pull it up and it sinks, and I pull it up and it sinks, and I pull it up and it sinks. Okay, so use some of that up trim for and all of a sudden it's stable. Okay, that was 2 tiny little taps on my elevator trim to bring us up. And notice we're still lifting a little bit to the right. If we bring us back over here, we're going to keep, to the left. We list a little bit to the left. So just give it a slight touch of right elevator trim and then correct it with your main stick like this. And we're good. And now, because we hit that right rudder trim when we were taking off, you should notice with our ball coordinator here, we're slipping a little bit. So this is a little bit of an important thing to notice, right? So this is your turn coordinator, and the simplest thing to know with this, step on the ball. Okay, so you step on, this is your left rudder, this is your right rudder pedal, okay? So you want to step with your left pedal on this black ball here to correct this out. So just add a little bit of left rudder, a little bit more left rudder, a little bit more left rudder, a little bit more left rudder, just like that, okay? And so that brought our trim, our rudder trim, back to almost neutral, okay? And now we have to trim the rest of the aircraft out again, okay? So just bring it back down elevator-wise. Okay, and a little bit to the right, a couple taps there, and we're basically leveled out again. Now I would do a little bit more elevator up trim just so you kind of keep the horizon above you. And just get really comfortable with that, okay? So you set your power setting first. Always set your power setting when you're cruising. Find how fast you want to go for your altitude. And then you set your trim, okay? Because what's going to happen, you increase your power. So you bring up your power again. Look, we're skewed. So set your power setting like this and then trim, okay? Get very, very used to trimming with your hat controls. And then you'll get comfortable with navigation. You can't do navigation, you can't do fighting, you can't do any of that stuff until you understand how the basics of this aircraft work. But it's super easy to figure this out as long as you're just comfortable flying around. So just throw yourself some little curveballs here, give yourself some visual references like this. It's easier to learn to fly on the Marianas map because you're very acutely aware of how a very small part of the horizon is changing for you. So we're gonna cut the throttle back down a little bit. The video is almost over. I'm just playing with some more power settings for anybody who wants to stick around here, okay? And then all we're doing is, so I correct first with my joystick, okay? And then I'll make a small adjustment, and then I'll correct again and see how far it's listing, okay? So you just correct and then adjust. So you correct it with your joystick, and then you flick up just a little bit with your hat trim or your elevator. Flick just a little bit right, give it a little bit of a wiggle, see if it stays there. Check your turn coordinator here. You can see we're just a little bit right, so we're going to step on the ball. We need a little bit more left rudder, just a tad left rudder. And that's all. I'm not doing anything with the stick, that's all trim. And now the rudder's fine, and so now we just need to trim down a little bit up. So just get really used to flicking that hat with your thumb. The little four-way stick on top of your joystick is usually the best way to do that. Thanks for watching this fairly long video. I may do something for landing, for climbing, whatever you want to see. This video is for people who do not know how to fly this plane yet and need a little bit of extra time. So if you understand how the plane works, you probably haven't made it this far. So thanks so much for watching, and stick around if you want to see some more tutorials. Thanks. Take care.